How's it going, people? Simon Slappy here, and this is the quest guide for Dealing With Scarbaras. So, the second prerequisite for Do No Evil. So without further ado, let's get started. So, quest requirements: you need level 60 Thieving, 50 Agility, 60 Strength and 21 Fire-making. You also need to have completed Contact, the Feud and Zoga Flesh Eaters. You'll also need to defeat a level 100 plus and survive, and level 60 Crafting will be highly advantageous but not necessary. So, items required for this: you need 1 Ugthanki Dung, 10 gold artifacts from Pyramid Plunder, 1 Pyramid Top from the Agility Pyramid, and I'd highly recommend getting 18 bronze bars beforehand, as it will save you quite a bit of time. You'll also be needing some water skins, as we will be travelling through the desert, though not all that much, so 1 or 2 should do. Level 43 plus prayer for protection prayers would be very handy. As I said, 60 crafting, we'll get into that later. 1 rope so you can actually use the shortcut later on. A hammer in your tool belt will work perfectly fine. You'll need possibly some extra logs, and the way it works is, if you say, for example, need 60 fire-making to burn said logs, add another 20 levels on top of that, and that's what we actually need. So whatever the highest logs you can possibly burn. I'd also recommend an inoculation bracelet, as there is a disease you can be given over here, and that will prevent it from affecting you. An anti-poison potion will be very handy, and I'd highly recommend getting your hands on a Pharaoh Scepter, though that's not necessary, it just helps speed things up. So as soon as you're ready, come on down to Sophanum and go ahead and talk to the High Priest. And this is where we start our quest. So as soon as you finish talking to him, head up the ladder right next to him, and you'll then go into a little cutscene. So, as soon as the cutscene's over, go ahead and talk to Mesa. She'll be wandering around the room. And just go through all of her options. And you'll find out the scarabs have been causing problems. And eventually, once you've gone through everything, you want to head back downstairs. And we now need to talk to the High Priest again. And we'll find out a bit more information. So, once you finish talking to the High Priest, you now want to head almost directly east of you, and we'll go through the east exit of Sophanum. And as soon as you exit from the east side of Sophanum, literally constantly run directly to your east. And you'll eventually come to kind of like a swamp oasis area. There are a few ways to get here, but this is the easiest from quest start, so once you're here, you then want to head through the bush to the north, and again through another bush straight to your north, making our way north slowly. And then again for the 3rd time, head north. And from here, you now want to head west slightly, and there's another bunch of reeds you can push through. And you'll know you're in the right place, as just up in front of it is a set of stairs we can climb up. So you want to go ahead and climb over the fallen pillar, and then head on up the stairs. And you'll see a little tent with a few NPCs here. Go ahead and talk to the archaeologist. And while you're here, she'll then ask you to prove yourself. So agree to prove yourself, and now it's time for a calculator, or unless you're gifted in maths, go ahead and do it in your head. But she'll give you a bunch of equations with either telling you to round down or round up the number. This is different for everybody, so I can't give you the answers, but it is pretty straightforward nonetheless. So, if you really can't be bothered to work it out in your head, then just pick up a calculator. There's always one built into your PC, so you shouldn't have a problem there. If you make a mistake or give her the wrong answer, nothing to worry about, just go ahead and talk to her again and you can go through the questions again. Conveniently enough, if you've actually used any of your water through your water skins while you was making your way over here, there is a little spring almost right next to you, as you can see on screen now, and it's pouring out of the canyon. Just simply use your water skin on that to refill it. So eventually, after I think it's 3 or 4 questions, she'll agree to give you a bit of information. So once you've finished answering all of her random questions, she'll then tell you about a contract deal that she's got with another NPC, and she'll ask for a certain amount of bronze weapons or armors. So for example, for my one it's kite shields. You can also get daggers, scimitars, swords, really random stuff. But it all totals up to 18 bronze bars. So make sure you've got an inventory space, and she should give you a little note. And the reason why you need 60 crafting is because we now have to de-stress bronze items, but you can simply fill the box with the bronze items and give it to the archaeologist if you don't have 60 crafting, and she'll do it for you, but it will take 3 hours. As soon as you've done that, got the box off it, all you need to do then is head to your west. I'd highly recommend protect from melee, and you can see this little overlaying or overhanging rock. Simply use your rope on that and you'll create an agility shortcut. Once you've jumped down there, you then want to head directly west. As you can see, we're right next to the agility pyramid. You want to climb up and talk to Simon Templeton. So tell him about the archaeologists and the scarabites. And he'll tell you all about the deal he's got going with the archaeologists. So, offer him the gold objects from Pyramid Plunder and he'll take them off you. Then offer him the pyramid top and he'll take that off you. And unfortunately I don't actually have the bronze antiquities yet, so at this point the easiest way to do it is teleport lodestone to Falador. Alternatively, you could do Varrock. But now we're going to make the bronze items that was requested of us. If for whatever reason you can't remember what the archaeologist actually asked for, then you can simply check your quest log and it will tell you in there which ones you need and how many. So if like me and you didn't have any inventory space because we was carrying all the pyramid plunder junk, we can now head to the bank, get our bronze bars. So go ahead and make some room. The items we will be needing on us is the water skins, the Ukthanki dung, and all 18 bronze bars and the crate. So once you've got them all, you then want to head to an anvil. Closest one in Falador is through the north exit near Goblin Village. If you're using Varrock, it'd be right next to the west bank. Alternatively, you've got Camelot, and there's one right west of the bank. But I was asked for kite shields, you could be asked for swords, and all you have to do is simply smith the items requested. So, finally, once you've made the bronze items, it's now time to head back down to the bank, and we'll get some food out for this next section, and some logs. Now, in case it wasn't clear earlier, for example, if you need 65 million to burn, I don't know, let's say U logs, I'm assuming, then for this part of the quest you will actually need another 20 levels on top of whatever is required for those logs. So if U's was actually 60, then you'd need 85 million to be able to do them on this quest. Hopefully that made sense, but once you're at the bank, get some food out. Make sure you've got your scepter, your dung, the crate and your bronze items with you, and your water skins. And as soon as you've got all that, you then want to teleport to the agility pyramid. And right here you just want to use your Thunky Dung on all of the bronze items. And they should turn into oxidized bronze items. So for me it's oxidized kite shield. And as soon as you've made them all oxidized, you then just want to simply use them on the crate. So once you've done that, you now just need to talk to Simon Templeton again. And it's now time to hand over our oxidized bronze items. As I said before, if you don't have 60 crafting, you can take this crate over to the archaeologists and come back about 3 hours later and they'll be done for you. But he'll then end up giving you a receipt, which we'll do in just a second. But before that, ask him about the little job he mentioned. And he'll ask us to go and talk to the mummy and pyramid plunder. So simply use your Pharaoh scepter and head over to Pyramid Plunder. Or you can simply run there, it's only southwest of you slightly. But go ahead and talk to the mummy. And tell him about the artifacts a bit more. And you'll mention Simon Templeton. And as soon as you've done that, that's pretty much it. Now what we have to do is go ahead and talk to Simon Templeton again. But before that, you can alternatively bank here, as we will need to kill a few level 100s now. So a few prayer pots, or just simply food if you're a higher level. And the logs that you can burn, the highest possible preferably. And as soon as you've got everything in your inventory, you can then teleport back to the agility pyramid. And you can talk to Simon Templeton. And tell him about the little job. And tell him that you've spoken to the mummy. So, eventually, he'll tell you that you can now trade in gold artifacts straight to him, noted for cash. Which is quite convenient if you ever plan on leveling thieving crazily at Pyramid Plunder. Which is always a good idea, as there's pretty tidy XP. Anyway, back to the quest. Now all we need to do is go ahead and head on back to the archaeologists. So easiest way from here is simply run east, and hopefully you made our agility shortcut. And you can simply climb back up. Don't forget about protect from melee if you're a lower level. And simply jump over the wall. And slightly to your east and talk to the archaeologist. So, go ahead and talk, and you'll give her the receipt that you ended up getting off Simultaneously, and she'll then give you a book, and she'll ask you to collect 4 Scarabite pages. So, easiest way to do that is head a little bit to your north, and in here there's a bunch of high-level zombies and skeletons. Simply kill these and eventually they will drop the pages. It is random, so you could get in 4 kills or you could get in 20. But eventually they will drop it. Oh, so as you can see there, I just fluked out first kill, got a note. Once you've got the note, all you have to do is simply read it and you'll add it into the book. So I think I'll skip ahead for this until I eventually get them. So there you go. Once you finally have all 4 pages and you've copied them into your book, they should look a little something like this. And once you've got them, just go ahead and talk to the archaeologist again. And if you need it, then refill your water skins. And the archaeologist will give you a key. Eventually. There we go. So for this part, you can now bank, as you will be needing to kill a level 100 Scaraba, but, well, I'm just going to go ahead. So from the archaeologist, just head directly north and eventually you'll come to some large stairs leading down. Head on inside. And just to the south of this first room is a clay golem. So go ahead and talk to the golem and he'll tell you a bit about the room and the area. And now we need to light the furnace up and do this little puzzle here. So if you forgot your logs for whatever reason, or you run out while trying to do this, you can actually search the box right next to you and there's a few logs in there you can actually use. But all you need to do is simply place the log into the furnace and light it, and as soon as you've done that, go ahead and talk to the golem and tell him he's ready to operate the levers. So, depending on which ones you do first, it gains the most benefit. I highly recommend the puzzle room, or the room with the box first, as that one is the hardest. And then, depending on what level your agility or strength is, whichever one you need most assistance in. So, for example, my strength is 99, so I need some agility assistance. So I chose agility second. Then I choose the strength. And then finally the scarab, as we will have to kill that. But the fight isn't all that hard, all you need is protection prayer and you're pretty much set. So once you've chosen all of those, you then just want to head into the first room here and pull the lever. And then head into the room opposite. And simply cross the balance beam. Depending on what levels you were and what assistance you chose, you can actually fail these, just keep trying it. Once you've done that, you then want to head into the Scarab room and put on your protection magic and kill it. For those of you who remember, this is actually the boss from the Contact quest. Except for this time he doesn't call in more scarabs to help him. So it's pretty easy. Apparently I can't hit him though. Eventually you'll drop the scarab. You then want to pull the lever in this room. And then finally the room opposite, with the little puzzle box, is the last one and the most frustrating one. So the idea here is you have to make pairs of 3 and then identify them. I'd highly recommend a pen and paper and writing down every single rune and do almost exactly what I do on screen. As do them in sets of 3s and then write down whatever rune it is, and then as soon as you make a set of 3, simply use them all to knock them out of the game. As you can see in the center of the screen, just to the bottom right of all of these little tabs, or whatever you want to call them, you can see I've now got 22. This is how many turns you have. If you have less than, I think it's 24, you won't be able to do it. To gain extra turns, if you actually click the little clockwork puzzle picture on the right hand side, just above the numbers, that will either give you a few bonus turns or take some from you. It is kind of a random chance, but I would highly recommend doing that if you don't have enough. So, as I said, you will need about 24 turns, give or take. And just to get extra ones, click on the little clockwork puzzle picture. And I'm not sure what it actually uses. It might possibly be thieving. And that'll give you a few extra turns if you're lucky. As soon as you've got it, just simply do what I'm doing on screen. Do them in sets of 3s. And eventually you'll clear out the whole screen. And you'll succeed. Well, that's the plan anyway. So that's the general tactic, roughly. And as soon as you hit the last one, you should be good. So as you can see, I had 3 turns left and I started with 25. But as soon as you've done that, you'll actually open the door to the passage to the west. At this point, if you're a lower level, I would highly recommend going to the bank to get food, prayer pots, and whatever else you possibly think of. But if not, you can simply head through as I'll be continuing now. You want to keep an eye on the floor as there are some traps. So as you can see, there's one right at the entrance. Just simply use one there. This will depend on your thieving level of whether you succeed, so at this point you will see some enemies. Some protection prayers would be handy here, as they can actually hit you fairly hard, surprisingly. And you simply want to head almost directly west, and this little small gap, there will be another trap on the floor. This is kind of annoying to get through if you're being attacked, as you can see there. Alternatively, you could run through the slightly larger gap just to my south, as we'll end up in the same place anyway. But then as soon as you're here, keep heading west, and eventually on the northwest side you'll see a room with just one scarab NPC there. There will be enemies in there as well, but as soon as you enter, you'll get a little cutscene, which will then throw you into a separate room instance, where it is just you and this scarab. So go ahead and talk to the High Priest of Scarabs, and he'll be slightly insane. Just go along with it and say agree to talk or whatnot, as this is quite annoying. You have to run through the same thing quite a few times. Basically, the options you want to choose is by all the deities what is going on here, or if that isn't an option, sounds like the Devourer dragged you into heresy for her own ends. You will likely be attacked in response, and you will run through this conversation multiple times. But all you pretty much need to do is chuck on a protection prayer and just wait around, more or less. Eventually, once she's finished battering you, you'll start a conversation with him again. He does cycle through attacks, so melee, range and mage, which is easily, you can easily tell which he's using. You just simply have to switch over. So again, by all the deities, or sounds like the Devourer. You could actually just run through every single option until eventually he decides to talk to you, but those two you have to go through at least once. So eventually he'll end up talking to you and telling you all about what's happened, and you can then finish up here and simply make your way back to Sophanum. If, like me, and you don't have any charges left in your Fear Receptor, as soon as you walk out of this door, you will start getting attacked again. So just chuck on your protection prayers and head out the same way you came in, just by going almost directly east. And don't forget about the traps on the floor. And simply search the traps on your way out, and we can now exit. So the only thing that's left now is to go ahead and talk to the High Priest. I'll fast forward this little section until we get there. So, multiple ways back. You can either jump back across the agility shortcut, run past Simon Templeton, and then slightly to your southwest, or you can go back through the swamp and just head directly west into Sophanum. But either way, once you're here, go ahead and talk to the High Priest. And that's pretty much it. Quest complete. Congratulations. So, as soon as you complete it, you'll gain 1 quest point, 7k in agility, prayer, strength and thieving, and you'll also gain the ability to make your own enchanted water tiara. Simply use water runes on a normal water tiara and you'll create one. It pretty much acts as a near infinite version of water skins. So, all in all, a pretty simple quest, didn't take too long, and that's the final prerequisite I needed for Do No Evil. So, as you may have guessed, next Friday, or this Friday should say, is Do No Evil. So until then, I will catch you all later.